Welcome to Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow spoiler discussion video. As you can tell, I had quite a bit of a struggle trying to talk about Supergirl in the non-spoiler discussion because there's so much here that I'm going to try to condense as quickly as possible because there's just so much to go over. I was thinking about doing it with a spoiler discussion with a friend of mine, but he ended up having to go, so unfortunately it didn't happen, which is fine. It gives me time to really process and really think about it. I came home and I needed like half an hour to really think about everything that was going on with the film surrounding it and even just in it and all this other stuff, and I was like, wow, okay. Since it's a spoiler discussion, I could definitely say Supergirl deserved way better. Way better. So let me start off from the beginning of the film. In the film, Supergirl is already just trying to forget about her problems, basically. She's drinking all the time. She's basically going into a planet that has a red sun. For those of you that don't know about the Superman character or Supergirl character, there are certain stars that give them certain energy for certain things, right? That can affect them in a certain way. They go to a regular star like our sun, it powers them up. If it goes to a blue star, it gives them a massive juice. If it's a red star, it actually decreases their ability, making them more vulnerable. So for instance, like if Superman or Supergirl was to get shot by a bullet, they probably wouldn't even feel it. If they were under a red star, they would feel it. They would literally bleed. That's basically what was going on. And in the film, Superman basically stated that if they're under a red star, then when they drink alcohol, right, like the effects of alcohol doesn't affect. They can have like a whole cater, 24-pack of like Modelo, nothing. Alright, that's basically what he's saying. So since Supergirl is depressed, because I guess we're at a point of her character arc where she never really processed what had happened with her planet, what happened with her parents, stuff like that. She just wants to drink her problems away, right? She doesn't know how to handle it, so she's just partying, she's just being reckless. It's just all these things with Supergirl. And I understand that for like the first half of the film because I'm like, okay, I get it, you know, clearly nobody likes the version of her being like that, but it's a character arc. You gotta start off a certain way to end up maturing into a certain character to a point where you become very likable. I understand that. But the problem with the film that I will say is that it drags on way too long. And I felt like at times they even overdo it. Like there was a point in the film, the girl comes up to her and she ends up asking for her help. And Supergirl is like, I already told you, I don't want to help you. Go do whatever, leave me alone. And then it goes to the part where she ended up having to go to the restroom. And she's literally pissing in the toilet with the door wide open. And she's just like, ugh, as she's using the restroom with the little girl there. And I'm like, I guess? I mean, you know, she's been drinking. I'm just trying to come up with reasons as to why this is such a thing, I guess. When it comes down to the little girl, the reason why Supergirl is even there in the first place, it turns out first that she's there because her parents got killed by some bounty hunter. That's what I forgot to talk about in my last video. The villain is weak. The villain is very freaking weak. Even in the comic, I will say this right now, the villain is beyond weak, but it's not necessarily about the villain when it comes down here. It's actually about the story. This is a huge characterization arc for Supergirl in this comic because believe it or not, the time that it takes for this story to finish in the comic is about 3 months. That's how long the adventure is. In the movie, they condensed it down from 3 months to 3 days. And I was just like, no freaking way. There needs to be some improvements there. There's no way you're gonna just do that in such a short amount of time. You're telling me that they're gonna figure all this out in just 3 days? And so this little girl, basically, she ends up watching her parents get brutally murdered from this bounty hunter. He's after a sword of some kind. He ends up not really getting the sword. He leaves, but this little girl finds a way to get the sword. She meets Supergirl at a bar. She's just like half drunk. She looks for someone to help her. Someone steals her sword. Supergirl ends up like noticing what's going on with the girl. She thought that was pretty messed up, so she gets involved. Then that's when the girl notices her. And then when Supergirl is trying to just go back home and mind her business, the girl follows her and then ends up giving her a reason to actually follow the bounty hunter now. And the reason being crypto. In my last review, I said that there were things where I felt like you really didn't earn that. And this is what I mean. Crypto was in the film, but for a short amount of time. Crypto is actually shot right away by an arrow. And when he's shot, he is pretty much taken out throughout the whole film. And there are moments in the film where you're supposed to feel bad for Supergirl because her dog is wounded and could possibly die in a certain time, which gives her the reason to want to go after this bounty hunter. But to me, I didn't really feel anything, if I'm being honest with you. And the reason being for me not really feeling anything is because of the fact that there really wasn't enough characterization between Supergirl and Crypto. All the characterization I saw with Crypto was with Superman. Superman was the characterization I got between him and Crypto. So if there was something that happened to Krypton, I expect Superman to get involved, especially since technically that's his dog, not Supergirl's. I don't know why they changed it. So now Supergirl has a reason to go after this bounty hunter to find a cure, because apparently the dog's paralyzed and she has about 3 days, and if she doesn't find this cure in 3 days that he has on him, then he's going to go into shock or something and he's gonna die. So there's a motivation for Supergirl wanting to go after him. There's some fight scenes in the film that are fine. I like the fact that they have a different perspective of being in space. I will say though, at times, it does come off somewhat Guardians of the Galaxy level. I really didn't want to talk about that only because a lot of people were really comparing that. But at this point, I'm kind of thinking, look, any hero, whether it's Marvel or DC, that's going to go into space is just going to be compared to Guardians of the Galaxy at this point. Especially because of the fact that at one point they showed that Supergirl had like an iPod. She had an iPod and she's wearing these headphones, like those old school 80s or 90s headphones with like a Walkman, and apparently she uses this so she can drown out noise. Like it helps her like concentrate a little bit, I guess. So it's like instead of a Walkman, it's an iPod. And I was like, I guess I'm surprised it ain't a CD player. You know, like it's like what? And so it is kind of a knockoff to Guardians of the Galaxy, where even I was like, really? Come on, really? There were some backstories here to Supergirl where I was like, I really wish I could have gotten more of. I really wish we kind of gotten more of an explanation to what happened to her parents. Apparently they showed that Krypton was dying. A part of a city actually ended up leaving the planet and they managed to save it, and it's like a small population of the Krypton people that are there. But for some reason there's like a sickness going around that has to do with kryptonite and it's killing everybody. So it turns out the reason why Supergirl ended up going to Earth after Clark did was because the parents didn't want her to get sick, so that gives her the reason to go into Earth. And that's how we have her here. That's the explanation. And the way how it even looked like it was a good moment for Brainiac to come in, especially since the next movie is going to be with Brainiac, but they did nothing with it, which was disappointing. When it comes down to the movie itself, the pacing I will definitely say is ass. There are times where it drags on and it literally got me moving in my seat. Like there was times, if I was to mimic how I was in my seat, there was times where literally I was watching and I was just like like I was just moving around a lot like that because I just got sick and tired of just kind of waiting for something to happen when nothing happened. It got really dull at times. When it comes down to the characters in the film, the main villain is weak. He is very weak. He does nothing. He says nothing. And even though I said yes, even in the comic, he's not very engaging at all here. He still has nothing to do. There was a point in the film where the villain ended up catching like a tank. There was like this big ass vehicle that he caught with one hand, implementing that he had super strength, and then they never went back to that. It's like they forgot about it. And they were just giving him a reason to show why he's strong in the first place. It does nothing, even towards the end of the film. Nothing. I'm being dead ass. Nothing. It never comes back up again. He's just a bounty hunter being intimidating, going cuckoo, cuckoo, and that's it. And I'm like, you're making random ass noises, but why are you here? What is the point of all this? He never even explained why did you want the sword in the first place. He never explained that. So there's just a lot of questions and there were answers here. The music of the film. Let me talk about the music. There were music choices in this film that did not match fight scenes at all. And there were all music choices that had a female singer in it, but there were songs that just did not work. I will say this right now. With Superman, when James Gunn chose to use punk rock music, at first I really wasn't feeling it because I was just like, punk rock for Superman? I was like, what? Like, what happened to Hans Zimmer or any of these other classical music scores that we use for Superman? But after a minute, I started to actually like the punk rocker Yes I Am song. Every time I hear that song, I can't help but to think of Superman because of the fact that this Superman is very lighthearted. He's likable. Of course, with Superman, I thought was really well done. And because of that, I like the song Punk Rocker now. It works for him. Here, there was not a single song that I could pick that represents Supergirl. So if I heard any of these songs, I would forget that it wasn't Supergirl. I genuinely would. Because they're not memorable enough for me to be like, oh, like that Superman song? This is Supergirl song. You don't have any of that. Unless it's maybe one from the trailer, which none of them were even in the film, by the way. The comedy in the film, not very good. There was times where like she did something, like a one-liner, or like she did like a funny action of some kind, and it just got like zero reaction. Like no one in my theater laughed. No one was like, oh, none of that. People were just like, okay. Really, like, nothing. There was no reaction. There was only one joke that made me laugh, and it was hella funny. So there's a scene where Supergirl, she basically has no sunlight at all to give her a boost of her powers. So she's like stuck in this bus that's getting hijacked. So there's a scene where like she asks this bus driver, right as they're being hijacked, like, hey, there's a sun over there. I need to get to the sun. Like, is there any way for us to get over there? And there's like this driver with like this little alien creature. And then all of a sudden, this alien creature's like, well, we need two things. We need an engine and we need a pair of balls, but I don't have either of those. That was like the only thing that was actually pretty funny. I even heard a hell of people in the theater laughing because that was actually a pretty funny joke. That was a smart ass joke, and I was like, okay, I like that. And there was really nothing like that anymore at the end. So unfortunately, you know, the humor was honestly hit or miss for you. It really depends. Oh man, this film. What else can I talk about here? The cameos. Let's talk about the cameos here. In my last video, I talked about how there was a lot of controversy about the fact that this is a female-led film and that the women are going to steal the show here. And honestly, I'll be real with you here. I wanted them to, because this is Supergirl. There are female heroes that I do find very interesting and compelling, and I would like to see what they do with them on the screen. I know what they could do with them here, but I want to see this on the screen. So I was looking forward to that. I didn't get it. I didn't get any of it. Want to know why? Because it's funny how there was a lot of shit talking surrounding the film about that this is a female lead and that Supergirl is going to steal the show because no man is going to take any attention. Guess what? The most interesting characters were the men. I'm not even saying that to talk shit or anything. Like, dead ass. Jason Momoa as Lobo is by far perfect freaking casting, and I don't get to mention that as much, but he fits the character so freaking well. I liked him as Aquaman. Zack Snyder's Aquaman was interesting, but most certainly he's Lobo. Absolutely. And he wasn't even in the film that long. Like, at total, maybe 10 to 15 minutes, if I was to guess. 10 to 15 minutes at most. But every time he was on screen, he stole the show. He was funny, he was sarcastic, he drank, he cussed, he didn't give a fuck, he killed. He did all the things that he's known for in the comics. He's basically DC's version of Deadpool. Let me put it that way if you don't understand it, okay? And he worked perfectly for the film. Every time Jason Momoa was on screen, he stole the show. Every single time. I saw people hella investing and getting excited the moment Lobo came on and was doing stuff even with his bike. He was the best part of the fucking film. And then, other than Lobo, Superman. Superman is here and there in the film only in flashbacks up until the very end where Supergirl and Superman are actually having a conversation. Every single time David Corenswet was on screen as Superman, he stole the show. Because he just had such a vibe on him that you can't help but to pay attention to him. Like, every time he was on screen and he was just being Superman, there was some in the flashback where Supergirl actually comes to Earth and she's speaking in their native language. Like, she doesn't understand English at all. And Superman's just like, hi, welcome to Earth. Oh man, it's great to see you. Listen, you don't know what's going on here. Basically, it's not like this. Like, it's not all ice. You know, if anything, I'm from Kansas. You ever heard of Kansas? Wait, what am I saying? You're, yeah, of course you wouldn't hear of Kansas. You're from space. I was like, he's such a nice guy. I really like the Superman's character. He's very pure-hearted, and I love it. This is a great Superman. And then when you see Supergirl, I will say this, she definitely paid attention to his lessons of, remember, when it comes down to fighting somebody, there's always a second chance. And basically, never cross the line. Never cross the line when you know you don't have to. Because there is a thing known as a justice system. And even though it's not perfect, it's literally what gets the job done. So trust it, right? No. I'm going to talk about that one last. Superman in general, being on screen, helped this film. I'm going to be real with you. I heard that they ended up having to do reshoots. And the reason how I know that Superman was part of the reshoots was because they had his suit in display, which I saw when I went to Los Angeles to Warner Brothers. And guess what? They took that suit off the display case because they ended up doing more reshoots. So I guarantee you, they saw this film and were like, we're going to need to give the audience something more to watch. We're going to have to. So, look, David Corenswet's here. Let's use him. And they brought in Superman, added some scenes, and there you go. I guarantee you, if they didn't do that, Superman would have been involved in the film way less than what it was supposed to be. So, Superman helped this film quite a bit, even though he wasn't in the film that much. And that's saying something. I gotta be honest with you. The cameos were just better than the lead character, and that's sad. When it comes down to the finale of the film. I'm gonna skip a bunch of stuff because there's just a bunch of stuff that just drags on in the film. So I'm talking about the parts that really stuck out to me. At the very end, right, there is a scene where they're on a planet and apparently there's two suns. There's a regular sun and there's a green sun. And I guess the green sun is probably like kryptonite, so it affected Supergirl to the point where she couldn't even use her powers. She could barely breathe. She couldn't even move. And throughout the whole entire time also, she never had her suit on. She had regular clothes. So I was right here kind of thinking, where is her suit at? Like, I'm waiting for her to have it on. Where's the suit? It's promoted everywhere, but you never see it. Guess what? She saves it for the finale. So I was like, okay, that's what we're doing. Fine. I was like, I guess. And when I saw her in her suit, I'm not gonna lie, I had a smile on my face because she looked sick in that suit, by the way. Her Supergirl suit was awesome. I really enjoyed it. And when she looked badass when she was doing her fight scenes also with the suit, so I think the suit really helped when she had it at the very end. But I will also say this. Where I got really frustrated with the film also were two things. Was how badly they held back Supergirl. When I saw how she went nuts at the finale of the fight, when she had like an awesome slow-mo fight going doing all that stuff, I was like, that was sick. When I saw her stomping and smacking people back and forth like ragdolls, I was like, holy crap, this is how strong she was. So you're telling me she got poisoned, she got infected, she was getting hit with arrows of kryptonite, the sun, space, no sunlight. There was just all these handicaps to just hold down Supergirl because of how strong she is. Trying to figure out a scenario to deal with Superman or Supergirl or somebody at that stature, it's really hard because of how strong they are. It's really hard to do that, so I get it. But it was just a little too much, if I'm being honest with you. So at the very end, literally, when I saw that Supergirl was just going nuts and just wasting all these guys, I was like, finally! Where was this throughout the whole freaking film? I was waiting for something like this. And then she finally brought it. Thank God, because I was waiting for that. I was like, is she really this weak? She can't be this weak. And sure enough, I was like, okay, I figured. They were just holding her back a lot. Thank you. But finally, she does something. And then the end of the film, when they finally got the bounty hunter that they were going after, this little girl has a moment where she has a sword and she's about to kill him. But then Supergirl stops her and tells her, hey, don't do it, because if you kill him, it's gonna haunt you forever. It's not worth it. Girl's like, well, I don't care. Like, my life is already ruined. What's doing this gonna do? And she's like, trust me, it's gonna do a lot. Don't do it. Then the girl has like a moment, and then she decides not to kill him. And then she goes up to Supergirl to get comfort. And at first I was like, oh, that's great. Yeah, like, I'm really happy to know that Supergirl's basically like Superman. To the point where Superman rubbed off on her to know that, hey, like, you gotta trust the justice system. Don't take things into your own hands because it solves nothing. It's just a bad thing to do. And then the little girl learned from that. And then, out of nowhere, the film pulls a 180. And as soon as this little girl leaves off screen, Supergirl looked at this bounty hunter, takes the sword, and stabs him in the chest. And at first, I didn't think anything of it because when she did that, she says, this is for my dog. And I was like, okay, alright, I get it, you know, like, he shot Krypto, and Krypto nearly died, but now she has to cure her, so I get it. It was like a little bit of a payback, right? It wasn't like a major wound, so alright, a little excessive, but sure. And then she pulls out the sword, and she does it again, and hit the guy's throat. And I was like, what the fuck? And she ends up killing him. And I'm right here thinking, I'm sorry, weren't you, like, not even like 2 minutes ago just telling this little girl not to cross the line because you crossing that line shows you that you're no better than them? And then as soon as the little girl leaves, you're just like, fuck it. Yeah, that's right, I got you. You know, my buddy said it perfectly. He was like, since when was Supergirl a hypocrite? And even I was like, I know, right? I was like, what the fuck? Like, what was that? I was like, what was it? What? So what gives you the right to lecture this other person when you're gonna do it? I'll bring up an example. There is a scene from Punisher, right? From his show, where literally this little girl is getting ready to shoot somebody and Punisher tells her no. But she ends up shooting one of the bad guys and now she's kind of scared because she thinks he's gonna kill him. So Punisher's like, no, you didn't kill him. You just shot him. And then he takes out a gun, bah, kills the guy. He goes, I killed him. He saved her from the grief of killing somebody, so he took the grief instead. That's good writing right there. Here, it was a complete opposite. It was, don't do this. This is bad in general. Don't do it. Turns around, does it anyway after lecturing someone on what not to do. That made absolutely no fucking sense. I don't know if this was the director or it was that writer Anna. I don't know who the fuck it was, but because of that, I'm like, I don't want either of you two touching Wonder Woman. Don't touch Wonder Woman at all. That made no fucking sense. It's like Superman saying, ladies and gentlemen, please do know violence is not the answer, and then proceeds to cause violence. I was like, that's so, like, out of nowhere. I was like, where did that come from? In the end of the film, Supergirl basically feels, I guess, redeemed. She doesn't feel grief anymore about what happened to her people, so now she felt the need to want to go back to Earth. I guess the little girl still wanted to travel with her for a little bit, and then she goes to Earth. She meets with Superman. They have a bit of a back and forth that honestly goes really nowhere, and then she ends up telling Superman, like, I'm actually happy to be here, because at one point Superman's like, look, I was kind of dealing with this alien. I could have used your help, but I get it. You know, you're kind of doing your own thing, so I'm gonna respect it. And then she's like, no, I'm gonna stay. He's like, what? He's like, yeah, I'm gonna stay. You know, I feel a lot better now. I feel like there's bigger things to worry about. So I'm here to help however I can. And don't get me wrong, I'm happy about that. But at the exact same time, I was like, that's great. But why? You never had a clarification as to why you got over your issues in the first place with you having a hangover and you drinking all the time and partying and being reckless. There was no character arc to figure out what happened. There's a scene where she flew into space after having a confrontation with this little girl saying that, oh, like, you shouldn't be telling me what I can or cannot do because look at you, you're a mess, you're trash, and you're telling me what to do? So then she goes into space, Supergirl, and then she just screams, but because there's no sound in space, it's just mute. So I guess because she vented in space, that's the reason now why she's better? Question mark? It made no sense. I was like, I don't understand. Who wrote this? There's no reason for why she got over her whole population dying and her leaving her parents to then finally say, I'm gonna go with Superman. I feel better now. There was no clarification there. I didn't understand that at all. That was messed up. And then other than that, in the end, there's no after credit scene. Which, I'll say this, it sucks, but then again, they're not Marvel. So I'm actually fine with that. Like, have your own style of doing things. You don't need to be Marvel. I said it many times myself. Not everything needs to be Marvel. So thank God for that. My buddy liked it, I guess, a tad bit more maybe. Because he gave it a 5 out of 10. He thought it was average. But the moment Supergirl became a hypocrite, I said, fuck that. This movie's a fucking 4. And it's not the actress's fault. It's the script. James Gunn said, oh, I went over the script. It's a phenomenal script. You guys are gonna like it. Mr. Gunn, I like you and I would love to work for you someday, but I have to be honest, I'm a fan first. What the fuck are you talking about, bro? What script? This script? This was not it. Not even close. I'm sorry. There were so many plot holes and so many things where it's like, you didn't even earn that yet. So yeah, it's just a mess verse and I'm done. I'm just done with it. If you want to know more about Supergirl, read this comic instead. You'll have a better characterization of both her and the girl in there, who is way more better in the comic, by the way, has way and much more to do than anything that was done here. I understand that when you're trying to adapt a comic or a video game onto the screen, there's changes that need to be made. I completely understand that. But what's the point of making changes if you don't fucking follow the source material? It's there for a reason. Follow it. But regardless, I think that the actress did a phenomenal job with the character, the best that she could. If I was in a project and if I had a script where I was like, fuck. even I would be like, I'm gonna have to try to make it work. I'm gonna have to. I have to try to find something to get this going because I'm already in it. So let's just see what happens. And I've seen many actors do that with so many superhero projects before, so I understand it's not easy. Good for them for at least bringing Supergirl onto the screen. I like Supergirl, and I say that I don't feel like nobody cares about Supergirl. It's not that. It's just that I feel that Supergirl deserved better than this. So if they end up making a sequel, which is most likely, to be honest with you, I do hope that they find a different director as well as a new writer, because this is not it. But other than that though, verse, I'm pretty sure if you've seen the film, there's maybe other things I left out. Again, not trying to go into all of that. I'm just trying to talk about the parts that really got me and parts that I just couldn't get over. But other than that though, verse, if you like what you saw, do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification for more content as always. Look forward to the next video, verse, and with that said, let me know what you guys think. I know that there's a lot of stuff going on with Supergirl. I know there's a lot of creative decisions about Supergirl that people don't like. It's not a bad, like, a god-awful movie. It's not Madam Web or anything like that, but it's not a great movie either. It's something that you're just like, I left feeling very disappointed. Let me know what you guys think. I hope you enjoyed the video. Good to be doing more movie reviews. I just wish it could have been with a better movie. But other than that, the verse, looking forward to seeing you guys next time, and have a good one. Till next time, verse. Later.